Our rules of conduct are basically
You should
kind
sign
of adopted from, I'm 12 stepper and we have big book study groups. And one of the rules is you
it.
don't argue with the text and you don't argue with each other. As a matter of fact, the only thing that will get you booted,
Except all in fun, you know.
yeah, is to be contentious in this group. Um, Not going to be tolerated, and I will be glad to remove you immediately from the screen if that should happen. That's not a threat, it's just a safety factor because this is a safe, sacred place. So enjoy. If you disagree, try to listen
Basically,
to agree with. So today,
we're gonna try and crack that. Yeah.
Glenn
Um,
L.
you, everybody, what were you saying, Tom?
Mute.
Doing it.
okay,
Got it.
who is that?
I don't know yet.
So,
It's Kat. She's back.
again, she's
Yeah.
back. All right, this poem called In a Dark Time by Theodore Rothke. And, last time I told a story that still continues to impact me about the blind fellow with his can out on his blanket on the street, a little sign that says, I'm blind, can you help? Young girl comes by, erases his board, writes something on it, and the next thing you see, money's pouring in. And she shows up the next day and he says, okay, what did you write on my board? And she said, well, I basically said the same thing you did. I just phrased it differently. And the camera pans around, you see the whiteboard, and it says, today is a beautiful day, and I can't see it. And I think the challenge of mindful meditation, and we'll see today, what Kelly is doing is explaining how your brain works, and that we basically listen to a part of our brain all day long that was never designed to do what we use it for. It's a safety device, it's our defense mechanism. We don't have claws, we can't run fast, but what we learned to do was to anticipate potential threat and to devise plans to avoid it. This part of our brain, which she's going to call the default position of the brain, is tripled in size over the last 2 million years of human development, which shows you how significant it's been to our survival. However, it makes an absolutely lousy guide for day-to-day living or the enjoyment of life. And if you want to look at why you suffer, and this is why neuroscience has meshed now, particularly what I call brain-based psychology. When you really understand what the brain is doing in its evolutionary background, you take a very different stance to what you're looking at. You discover that there's basically two different minds operating, one or three. One is very defensive. It constantly sees threats, and that's the one we're going to look at. And it looks out at the world and it can't see the beauty. When Jesus says the kingdom is in your midst, or the Buddhists say heaven's an inch above your head, they literally mean it's there as a potential, but you have to learn to deal with the darkness that your brain is constantly generating and develop a wise relationship with it. And a wise relationship with it means basically believe about 2% of what it's saying. And the rest of the time, once you've seen it loop through a couple of times, just learn to ignore it. Just like you learn to ignore background noise in your house. So this is Rothke, and it's the challenge we've got in the times we live to begin to see through and see the beautiful day behind the dark times. He says, in dark time, the eye begins to see. I meet my shadow in the deepening shade. I hear my echo in the echoing wood. a lord of nature weeping to a tree. I live between a heron and the wren, beasts of the hill and serpents of the den. What's madness but nobility of soul at odds with circumstance? I want to say that again. What is madness but nobility of soul at odds with circumstance? The day's on fire. I know the purity of pure despair, my shadow pinned against a sweating wall. That place among the rocks, is it a cave or a winding path? The edge is what I have. A steady storm of correspondences, a night flowing with birds, a ragged moon, and in broad day the midnight come again. A man goes far to find out what he is. Death of the self in a long, tearless night. All natural shapes blazing on natural light. Dark, dark my light, and darker my desire. My soul, like some heat-maddened summer fly, keeps buzzing at the sill. Which I is I? A fallen man, I climb out of my fear. The mind enters itself, and God the mind, and one is one, free in the tearing wind. I'm going to read that last part. My soul, like some heat-maddened summer fly, keeps buzzing at the seal. That's that thing that goes, there's got to be more. This can't be all that there is. There's this divine dissatisfaction that actually drives the monkey mind, or this default position of the brain we're going to hear about. It's a dissatisfaction that gets linked into trying to control instead of trying to release. And so what we're talking about is to begin to extinguish this mind that's always present, the monkey mind, the constant inner judge, the noisy roommate, call it what you want to call it. It's a voice that speaks to us. If you're hearing words, that's why Rumi said, forget words. Forget words. Enter the silence. Enter the silence is where God becomes one with us, where we become one with God, where we begin to see through that veil of trance that's constantly being generated by the brain. Enter another part of our brain, which is much friendlier part, which is called the ventral part of the nervous system that can't be gotten to through fight or flight. So if we listen to the monkey mind, if we listen to this voice that the neuroscientist is going to tell us about, we end up always at war with life, don't have access to the ventral part where we can see possibilities, where life feels meaningful, where we feel worthy. So you hear me say, and Linnell gets on me, that's not going to work. You can't do it that way. And it's because the science is behind it. Because when we look at the brain in the brain scan, we can see when you're doing this, you're in the default position of the brain. When you're doing this, you're in the ventral part of your brain, and life feels totally differently. So these are not supernatural states of mind. These are everyday parts of your nervous system. And when we begin to look at mindfulness, it's simply a skillful way of beginning to navigate the brain. So let's hear what she's got to say. Okay.
Okay. And I'm starting with number 2.
Number 2.
The default state.
Back. I'd like you to take a moment and bring to mind the image of a vast and expansive blue sky,
Is that loud enough?
cloudless and extending on. See if you can bring to mind this image of a vast and expansive, clear blue sky. According to many wisdom traditions, this is the natural state of the mind. Calm, undisturbed, open, accepting, spacious, expansive. Let's do a little experiment right now and see if you can tap into this natural state of mind. For the next minute, I would like you to close your eyes if you can and calm the mind completely. Let's begin. Okay, what did you notice? Did you have that direct experience of no thoughts, no disturbances, calm, empty mind? Okay, if you're like most people, actually that minute was full of a lot of mind wandering, a lot of interruptions, distracted maybe by something that you heard or thinking about what you're going to do when you're done listening to this program, thinking about something someone said to you yesterday or what you want to have for dinner. Most of us, when we turn to the mind and look for this experience of calm, what we actually find instead is that the mind is very busy with a kind of inner dialogue that's constantly going into the past or the future or pulling us away from the present moment. And as we'll see, this constant state of inner distraction, this inner conversation and dialogue produces a kind of permanent dissatisfaction with the way things are and with the present moment, are constantly pulling us out of our direct experience into stress and suffering. Neuroscientists have recently begun to look at what it is that the brain does when it's in its so-called resting state. And so they put people in a brain scanner to watch the activity of the brain and what areas become active and what areas go to rest, and have people do pretty much nothing. Just rest your mind, kind of like you did a moment ago. And what they've seen is that in reality, when the mind is at rest, it actually becomes much more active. Instead of going to sleep and quieting down, many systems of the brain become active at the same time and produce what we're all familiar with as this kind of constant inner chatter and distractions. And this seems to be the default resting state of the human mind, that it doesn't matter who you put into that brain scanner. This is a universal default state of brain activity whenever it is that we are not focusing on something specific, when we're not engaged in a very specific task. Now, the wisdom traditions, when they describe this natural state of the mind as being calm, and expansive, and open, or sometimes empty, they're really pointing to a capacity that we humans have to experience peace of mind. And yet that doesn't mean that that's what the mind defaults to when left to its own devices. And in fact, it may be that we really need to train the mind in order to experience this natural state, and that we may be born with brains that actually, by default, without training, will produce a very different experience of distraction and dissatisfaction. So what's going on in our brains and in our minds during this default state, this universal state that all human brains seem to go into when the mind is so-called resting? There actually are four main activities of the default state, four mental activities that our brains default to. And the first is commentary on whatever we are experiencing in the present moment. The mind will start to produce an opinion about what you hear, what you see, what you're feeling, what you're doing, perhaps what other people are saying and other people are doing. And unfortunately, the default state seems to prefer to criticize rather than find the good in whatever is happening in the present moment. And so when our mind drops into this default state, we have this inner dialogue that is basically pointing out what's wrong with the present moment, and very helpfully often will provide alternatives, alternate realities, and will start to concoct the way things should be. It shouldn't be so cold. It should be warmer. That person shouldn't have said what they just said. They should apologize. And so the mind is just constantly crafting, without any real effort on our part, this alternate reality, the way that things should be if things were really the way we wanted them. So that's one thing that the mind does in its default state, this commentary. The second thing it does is time travel. And when the mind is at so-called rest, you see areas of the brain that are involved in remembering specific things that have happened to you in the past, active at the same time as areas of the brain that transport you into imagined scenarios. And so we end up experiencing this kind of complex inner fantasy that is both remembering things that have happened to us and projecting that into the future and things that might happen to us. And all of this time travel means that we miss out on whatever is happening in the present moment. We spend much of our time living somewhere else other than the present moment. The third thing that the brain does by default is something that neuroscientists call self-referential processing. That is, whatever the brain chooses to think about, including what's happening now, or thinking about the past, or thinking about the future, it's constantly trying to interpret that into a sense of who you are, creating a sense of identity, or what in Buddhism is called ego. The sense that I am the kind of person who, and the things that I like are this and that, and I don't like this and that. And other people should treat me in a certain way because this is who I am. And when the brain is at rest, again, it's constantly seeking ways to strengthen this sense of who you are as an individual, a solid sense of self. The last thing that the brain does by default is something that neuroscientists call social cognition, or thinking about other people. And there are lots of ways that we think about other people. Sometimes we wonder what they think about us. Sometimes we just think about what we think about them. We like to put other people into categories like this person is a friend, this person is an enemy, this person matters, and this person doesn't matter to us. And so we spend a lot of time thinking about ourselves in relationship to other people, and we may even compare ourselves in relationships to other people. Is this person doing better than I am? Or does this person have more than I do? Okay, so we've got 4 things that the brain does by default without you wanting to or asking the brain to do this. Anytime your attention wanders away from what's happening in the present moment, you will be simultaneously having an inner commentary about what's happening and what should be happening, traveling to the past and traveling to some imagined future, all the while talking to yourself about who you are and thinking about your relationship to other people.
You want to set it up for the meditation?
Okay.
Okay. Now, when you begin to look at the source of your suffering, and I'm going to make some comments to tie this stuff in 12-step spirituality, one of the main focuses that we have is what other people think of you is none of your business, okay? And the point of that is exactly what's said. That's giving you permission to let go of any thinking that you're doing, of worrying about what someone else thinks about what you just said, or wondering how to get them to not be upset by something you're going to say, or by worrying about whether they're going to remember that you wore this dress 2 years ago, or any of the myriad things that we do Like my son won't dance because he's afraid other people are going to watch him while he's dancing. It gives you permission when you let go of this. There's a tremendous freedom. So all of this chatter that's going on, when you recognize that's what's happening, it says, let go of it because that's none of my business. Why is it none of your business? Because you have no control over what other people think of you. All right? Therefore, if you have no control, why are you trying to control it? Second one, life isn't about you. So this construction of a narrative into a story about me, what kind of person am I? I'm the person who likes this. I do that. I have this neuroses. I'm this kind of spiritual aspirant. All this kind of planning and construction of the self, again, is being spun out by a very paranoid defensive part of your brain. And it skews the way you see yourself. So when Rothke asks the question, which I is I? Which is a fundamental question asked by Buddhism and wisdom traditions. It's never the monkey mind I. That's the ego. That's a false artificial construction, a storyline that your brain is telling itself, which has very little basis in reality. Okay. The third part of that story is this part of your brain is always time traveling. It's always in the past, it's always in the future. And we say God is in the present moment. What that means is every minute that you spend here, not in the present moment, makes you unavailable for the spiritual things you're seeking. That's why I keep saying that's not going to work. Why? Because it takes you out of the present moment. If you're not here now, you're not available for peace of mind. You're not available for joy because joy happens in present moment awareness. All right? Never happens in the past or future. So we can let go of that. Okay? If you want to have memories, fine. If you want to go project and anticipate a future, that's fine too. But that's something different from what you're doing on the mat. Okay?
But it could be intentional.
But that's intentional.
Right.
That's right, with you making a choice rather than drifting off there, being carried away. So the last one is the plans and the making plans. And we have a saying in recovery, if you know how to make God laugh, tell him your plans, okay? That life is going to unfold the way it does, not in accord to any plan you make. And so again, all of these sayings are permission to let go of this stuff. The problem is we go to meditate, we're trying to calm ourselves, and then this is what gets activated. We're trying to get away from this. We're being told I shouldn't do this. That very shouldn't do this is what keeps it activated. Let's say you're going to do this. Now, skillful relationship, put that out here at a distance and watch it and call it what it is, monkey mind. Call it the inner roommate, the inner judge. Don't call it me. Okay? Don't even call it my brain. It's just a projection that's being run, a program being run that's designed to make sure you have food on the table and a safe place. And that's what we mean by being mismatched in time. You have a pantry, I'm sure. You don't have to worry about what you're going to eat tonight. You have shelter. You're not going to have to worry about being safe when you go to sleep. Those kind of fundamental basic needs are being met, and yet we're going to a place in our brain that tells us that we are not safe in a very fundamental way, in a life and death way. It's not simply that these are things we should consider, it's that we have to consider or something very bad is going to happen. Do you know the feeling I'm talking about? Give me a hand. So it's very irrelevant as what time I get to choir practice, but it feels like life and death that I can't be late. So let's listen to her meditation on mindfulness, a skillful way for us to get out of this place, learn to relate to it on the cushion. So
now we're going to explore a mindfulness meditation practice. In this practice, you'll tune into the experiencing self and take a break from the default mode of evaluating what you're experiencing or trying to escape the present moment with distraction. Your mind will probably wander back into this default mode, so don't be surprised and don't be hard on yourself when it does. When you do notice your mind wandering, simply bring your attention back to the body, the breath, and your senses as I'll guide you in this meditation. Begin by coming into a comfortable position. And once again, you could choose to sit upright in a chair with your feet on the floor or on a cushion. Or you might choose to do this practice lying down or in a favorite yoga pose. And you don't need to wait for the perfect place, especially because this is a mindfulness meditation. And so whatever sounds and smells and other things going on in your environment, it's okay, and they can become part of the practice. Let's begin with mindfulness of the body. Close your eyes and tune into an inner awareness of physical sensation in your body. Bring awareness to the inside of your mouth. Notice the roof of the mouth, the tongue, notice your lips and teeth. Bring your awareness back into the mouth, the roof of the mouth, and bring awareness into your inner ears. Sense your inner ears and outer ears. Bring your awareness to your cheeks. Sense your nose. Sense the breath moving into and out of your nose. Bring awareness to your eyes. Sense your eyelids and eyeballs, and even behind the eyes. Bring awareness to your forehead. Sense your scalp and the back of your head. Sense the back of your neck. And then inside your throat. Then see if you can bring that all together, sensing the mouth, ears, the whole face, the eyes, the whole head and neck, all at the same time. And now bring your awareness from the throat into your shoulder. Sense both shoulders at the same time. Bring that awareness down the length of both arms, sensing your upper arms elbows, and forearms. Sense your wrists and both hands. Sense the palms of your hands. Sense your fingertips. Sense the back of your hands. And follow that sensation all the way back up to the shoulders, sensing fingertips, hands, and palms, wrists, forearms, elbows, upper arms, all at the same time. Now bring awareness to your chest. Sense the top of the chest and belly. Sense the upper back, your middle back, and lower back. Sense the space between your chest and your upper back. Sense the space between your belly and your lower back. Bring awareness to your pelvis, the top of the pelvis, and the back of your hips. Sense the space inside your pelvis. And now sense the whole core of the body all at once, inside and out. Your chest, belly, back, and pelvis. Sense the whole core of the body, all at the same time, inside and out. Now bring awareness to both legs. Bring awareness to your thighs and knees. Sense your shins and calves. Bring awareness to your ankles. Sense the top of your feet, all 10 toes. Sense the balls of your feet, the arches of your feet, and the heels of your feet. Bring that awareness all the way up both legs, sensing toes, feet, ankles, lower legs, knees, upper legs. Sense both legs, both feet, all at the same time. And now sense the whole body all at once, inside and out, from head to toe to fingertips. Open your awareness to notice and welcome any sensation in your body. If there is any feeling or sensation in your body that stands out to you, put your attention directly on it and observe it with curiosity and acceptance. Now bring awareness to your breath. Notice the breath as it enters your body at the tip of your nose. And follow the flow of the breath in through your mouth and into your throat. Feel this flow of breath into the body and out of the body. Notice any feelings of expansion when you breathe in, and that expansion dissolving as you breathe out. Where in your body do you feel the expansion when you breathe in and release when you breathe out? Now bring awareness to the skin of the whole body. Sense the space around you with the skin of the whole body. Now bring awareness to any sounds that arise. Listen to the sounds and welcome all sounds without judgment or preference. Now welcome any other sensations or perceptions that are arising in this moment. And then bring into awareness all at once the feeling of your whole body, the feeling of the breath moving in and out of the body, the sense of space around you, the sounds around you, and any other sensations or perceptions that arise in the present moment. Rest in a state of open awareness that welcomes all of these sensations and perceptions exactly as they are. And now bring your awareness back to the breath, to the flow of the breath in and out of your nose. Take a moment to acknowledge yourself and your participation in this practice. Appreciating the awareness and the willingness that you brought to pay attention to the present moment and to cultivate these qualities of mindfulness and compassionate self-awareness of what the mind does. If you would like, continue to rest in this state of open awareness and self-appreciation a little while longer.
All right. So for our newcomers, this is our time for questions, answers, responses, not reactions, comments to what you heard. I'll just point out before we go that in this meditation, and we'll hear this next week, we'll probably do at least 3 weeks with her. She's using 3 techniques that neuroscience has shown keep you out of the monkey mind. Okay. First, present moment awareness. Second, sensations in the body. And third, focus on the breath. So that is, those 3 things have been shown. We can look in these functional MRIs when a person is in this part of the brain, present moment awareness. It shuts out the time travel part of the monkey mind. Without the time travel part, the rest of it can't function. And that's beautiful. So we have a way to kind of hamstring the monkey, and that is to stay in the present moment. So notice that when you lose the present moment, you pretty much have probably gone somewhere related to the monkey mind after that. So questions, comments?
Go,
I
Woody.
already forgot the 3 things. So it's breath, And it's bodily
Body
sensation,
sensations, present moment awareness. Okay.
present moment awareness. Yeah.
So the breath serves an additional function in that when we do the slow exhale against a shorter inhale, that shifts us out of fight or flight and begins to put us in ventral. Those of you who don't speak vagus nerve yet, your vagus nerve has at least three settings. The major ones are uh, dorsal, where you feel like giving up, there's no hope, you feel like a piece of crap and a burden to everyone you're around. The second is fight or flight, where you feel at war, you feel pressure to act and to do something. And then ventral, which is
And you know, that present moment that you mentioned, I think she enhanced that by using your senses.
yeah.
The skin, what do you hear? Those are the kinds of things. So breath, body, and then your sensory awareness, because that's always
Well, it's
present
always
moment.
present moment. Yeah, it's always present moment. So those connections, particularly with the bodily sensations, shut off the monkey mind. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with your thoughts and this judgmental mind, this is called the judgmental mind, the inner shamer, it is the cause of suffering, and we'll look at that next week. Why are these three things? And think about it. These are things I do all day long, that I'm actively generating suffering when I'm in this part of my brain. I'm not doing anything. I'm not creating things. It's not even a pleasant place to be. Like Rothke's saying, it's a dark place. But I begin to see that's where I live. And it's often not until I stand outside of it that I realize how painful it is to be in that place. It's like when you get a massage and all of a sudden you realize, God, I've never realized how tight my body is. It's the same way. You never realize how much this form of indulgence in this mind is extremely uncomfortable.
So she's showing us that this is the way out.
Right, this is the way out.
And if you've ever or never done a yoga nidra, I would
Yes.
say this is very, very much like a yoga nidra.
Right.
Tom, what have you got?
Would you put the name of this person in the chat?
Yeah.
So Kelly McGonigal, Stanford neuroscientist, she's teaches yoga. She's got a book on yoga. I don't think she did one on PTSD. I think that was someone else, but she also has works on mindfulness. Wonderful speaker, and she's a twin. She had an identical twin sister who's also got a PhD, and she uses gaming theory to help people with things like depression. She also works with healing, emotional
I
healing.
think that's how you spell it. Okay. Neuroscientist.
Yeah, this is from a Sounds True series called The Neuroscience of Change.
Hello?
Yeah?
Yes, go Dorothy.
Hi. Every other Monday in Shreveport, if anyone's in Shreveport and listening, I teach awareness, and it is built on those three things. So I do it at St. Luke's, and all the money goes to the church. And it's, if anyone's interested, they could just send their phone number, and I can send them a readout on it. But
Or get in touch with us. We can get you.
Yep.
yeah, you can get in touch with Bart and he can direct you to me. But I've been teaching it since 1992 and absolutely love it. So the classes have been going really well. There's a lot of people and I just love it. It helps me so much. So I wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Lovely.
Mm.
Fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments?
I think for me, this brings up the balance of awareness and monkey mind. Um, I think for me, the challenge is when, or the work is when is the alarm really going off because action needs to be taken,
Right.
Right.
and not gaslighting it, not spiritually bypassing um, the alarm, as opposed to, oh, don't feel, no, don't be thinking, don't, oh, and I know, Bart, you touched on that. You said it's not bad. It is. And this is a way to kind of calm ourselves or calm our nervous system to be able to be present, hopefully to respond, as opposed to react.
Exactly. And this is where I think we're most confused, Rachel, is that we forget that Zen Buddhism got its start from the same guy who founded Kung Fu. And he did it to be a more skillful fighter. So when you look at, has he got something to be afraid of? Yes, I'm dealing with a man who wants to actively hurt me. Then what's the most skillful way to deal with that? To be up in my head planning, trying to figure out what
Yeah.
system he's using and how I'm going to counter.
I'd like to talk about how her voice was so appealing in the beginning and then became a drone.
Okay.
And
So,
that actually,
okay, thank you. So we're enamored of the monkey mind and think it's the best planner. The problem with the monkey mind is the monkey mind only sees negative. She touched on that a little bit in that it's got what we call a negativity bias. It really lights up when there's something negative there so that it's always seeing threats. Steve Jobs, and the reason he meditated a third of his day was because when he was only feeling like there was a problem, he would do that step back because that's when the possibilities became revealed. So, yes, the monkey mind is good to alert me that I'm feeling a threat, but that's not the mind to use to assess threat. Does that make sense? Because when I'm in ventral, I can begin to see opportunities that when I'm totally focused on the threat, I can't see the doorways, I can't see the path, I can't see this chair I can pick over here to knock you in the head. So watch Jackie Chan fight and the way he's always picking stuff up that's around and finding things to integrate to get out. That's all present moment awareness. If he's locked into a particular pattern of defense, he's toast. They've got him if you got to fight one-on-one against three guys. So really convincing people that you're safer in the present moment than you are planning for the future. Okay? It really is the safer place to be. It doesn't say there's no threat. It say I'm going to be able to skillfully deal with the threat. Okay, good question. And as I was explaining to my grandson, as a fighter, I said, what you gain is a half a second, but a half a second is huge in a fight. In your life, you gain much more than that in terms of responsiveness.
Go ahead, Robert. Did you have something?
Talbot?
Bill's voice in the beginning was so appealing. And I followed it through attention to various parts of my intake of sensual awareness and avidly. And but she extended that into what eventually became somewhat of a drone because her voice did not change, and nor did we have kind of a break in the flow. But I'm the kind of person who creates whatever is needed to continue, whether it's to pick up on more strongly on things that she had talked about earlier, or to make my own extension from her lead in this direction. So, in a way, she puts it in her lap simply by going on what I can thought of as too long with the same tone of voice. And is that something that you understand? Am I making
Making sense, but that's the monkey mind, Robert. That's exactly the monkey mind saying it should be this way
Commentary.
and beginning to complicate and be at war with what's actually happening. Okay, and that's not a criticism. That's simply using that as an example of how subtle it is and creeps in with she should be doing it this way. It would be better if she did it that way. That's that first part of the monkey mind, right?
okay?
Then trying to construct a way to get what I would like to get out of it. That's monkey
Yeah.
mind too. So
Well,
what they say is
so
draw.
monkey mind is not all bad.
Okay, so let's again go back. First, you have to lose the word good or bad. Lose those words. Okay, that's the judgmental mind, and that's the beginning of suffering. The beginning of suffering. Good, bad. This is good. This is bad. They arise together. They can't. They're inseparable. They're inseparable. We keep trying to separate. Only have good. I only want ups, Lord. No downs. Only ups. That's junky thinking. Junky thinking. Equal amounts of up and down. That's equanimity. So this is a down period. This is the thing where our voice becomes monotonous. Okay. So Robert, what we're doing is learning to not have that reactivity control me when I'm in a situation where I have nothing to do and would like to be peaceful. We like to tell a story about a guy in a meditation center. Everything continued to bother him, the monks bothered him, the sounds outside bothered him, the way they taught the meditation bothered him, everything. And his teacher says, so let me ask you a question. When that truck outside bothers you, does it come in here to bother your meditation, or do you go out there to bother the truck?
Did you go get it?
Did you go out to? And he said the student had to laugh when he realized that it's me generating that. So one of the first things we teach is recognize the way we subtly go to war with what is and learn not to do that. So when we're here, Robert, we're practicing the art of not going to war against what is. Now, if I choose to go to war, and this is something that Anthony DeMello teaches, he says, understand that that's what you're doing, but never think that you're going to get peace by doing that. Never think that you'll find connection with other people doing that. Don't think that you're going to find joy in doing that or meaning in doing that. Yes, you're going to go to war, you're going to fix that aspect, but these are two separate things. So first we have to decide, what am I doing? What am I about? What's my goal? And Soren Kierkegaard, the Danish theologian, wrote a book called Purity of Heart is to Will One Thing. And that it goes back to the Beatitudes. Blessed are the pure in heart, for
They shall see God.
they shall see God. Yes. If you want God consciousness, purity of heart. Purity of heart is to will one thing. What do you will? What do you will? That's what Rothy's beginning to hint at. He's beginning to hint at, I want to see God. I want to empty of self. I want to let go of all this chatter, all this I want, I like, I don't like. And I want to let what is fill me, which is what mindfulness, empty of self, of the world. Okay. So to keep willing that, some of you know, people say, well, what do you do all day, Bart? And it's very simple. I try to take peace, love, and joy, open to it around me, find the source of life around me, and channel that into every interaction that I have during my day. It's not about my plan, not about I want. So if I begin to lose that joy, lose that peace, it's time to redirect. Is it worth is worrying worth losing that serenity or that peace or that joy? And then
That really speaks to me that you can't find peace by going to war.
Yeah.
Right this minute in my life,
It
can't
does.
find peace by going to war. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what we were taught, so it's what we do. And then you see the joke.
Oh, we're gonna.
You see in the joke. I love it. Again, Alan Watts, the reason we're unhappy is we keep taking seriously what God meant as a joke.
I relate to what Robert was talking about, and the thing that came up for me was that part of the Diamond Sutra at the end where it says, all of those words, because when she spoke, my body responded and
Right.
relaxed. My body just her speaking, just the tone in the recording, whatever sounds were happening in the silence, my whole body settled.
Mhm.
And then as I'm listening, it reminds me of like the gateless gate. There's a gate to all of these steps she took us through. And then at a certain point, I don't need the words anymore. I don't need the raft to take me across the river because I'm there.
Right.
So it's almost like he was ready to discard the raft and just be in open awareness, but her words, so it's interesting.
Out of it.
We still have to let it in because it's still happening, but there's a part that's just ready to be in open awareness and say, hey, thank you, raft. I really appreciate that you got my senses going. You got, I'm now present. Thank you, raft.
Yeah. Okay. And okay, so beginners, what she means by the raft is the structure of the meditation. Now, at a certain point, you will internalize this and you don't need the external voice. All right. You'll just allow yourself to go into that open awareness and let that go. In the meantime, that voice being there becomes a thing to encompass in the choicelessness. Okay. Remember, the end point of meditation is choicelessness. I'm not choosing this thing to happen or that thing to happen. So that becomes a way that there's still a stickiness in my choices. So it's easy. So that becomes what we call a silent group. It's something that I'm trying to let go of it and move on into my choiceless awareness. I have
The
that
female, maybe his dog or something,
stuck
or
here.
maybe his lover.
Yeah.
So, all righty, Omi, let's
All
go.
right.
And we're going to go out still with the Tim Wow instead of the COVID raspberry.
3 rounds of Om and the wow.
Got it in there.
Okay, ready?
Okay, I am. Take a deep breath in.
Yeah.
Wow!
Thank you, Tim Johnson.
Yeah. Love
Thank you,
y'all. Thank
everybody.
you.
Next week.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bart, just
Have
for
a
your
good weekend.
for your information, Ralph De La Rosa passed a couple weeks ago.
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
So when you kept saying the monkey mind, I kept thinking of him. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that, Woody.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. I
That
got
was